lively little rabbit, undressing me with its eyes. At least I think that's what's happening here. It says a lot about me that I recognize this as seduction. A little golden book, written by, going full Beyonce here, written by Ariane, and illustrated by Gustav Tengren, and published by the Western Publish Company included, Racine, Wisconsin. Racine? Sure, why not? They have a library? All right. The Golden Books Publishing Company included library. How fancy. Published in, it says copyright 1963. And it's at another date of 1973, so I have no idea. And then there are some other words there. They could mean anything. Anyway, let's go. Way back in the woods lived a lively little rabbit, after a great start. All day long he nibbled leaves and roots and played with his brothers and sisters. Most of the day they would slide down a big hill. It's a mile a minute in these rabbity times. And the lively little rabbit was always in front. I'm just going to stick to reading and try to stop ad-libbing. The first one to reach the bottom. You do aspire to be the bottom. All the little rabbits would have had a wonderful time, except for the weasel who lived in a hole in the forest. That old weasel was mean and grumpy and always pushing his sharp nose into everything. Besides, he was always ready to eat little rabbits. Jesus. He was always ready to eat little rabbits for breakfast. So the lively little rabbit, who didn't want to be eaten for breakfast, and most would aspire to that, was careful to keep out of the weasel's way. So where were his brothers and... God, read a book! So were his brothers and sisters. Whenever they saw the mean old weasel coming, they jumped, go, wow. Hope they mean approaching. Because, do that shit in your own home, man. Whenever they saw the mean old weasel coming, they jumped quickly into their hole and, stayed there until it was safe to come out again. And the lively little rabbit was always the first one down the hole. Little selfish prick. The weasel was a very cunning weasel, too. One day, when the lively little rabbit was alone in his hole, the weasel wriggled down into it by the back door. Goodness. For a minute, the lively little rabbit thought he was going to be eaten for breakfast, but he was smart and quick as a flash. He jumped out of the front door and began to run as fast as he could. He ran and ran until he came to the end of the forest. There were big hills and roads going up and down, and a little village, but the lively little rabbit only wanted his dinner. "Oh my," he said, "I am so hungry I could eat 200,000 million big carrots right now." Don't know why he speaks like that, but he does. A red squirrel who lived with his family in a nearby tree heard this remark. In one glide and 2 jumps and 3 hops, he reached the garden and came back with a bunch of delicious carrots, but not 200,000 million big carrots. Never going to fulfill that. I've already lost the voice. "Oh, thank you, Red Squirrel. I'm Brian Blessed." That's not what Brian Blessed sounds like. Said the lively little rabbit, very pleased. "I love carrots. You are my best friend indeed." After the rabbit had eaten all his carrots, he decided to spend the night with his new friend. At first he thought it was a funny idea to sleep way up in a tree, but the red squirrel pushed and shoved him until they were both settled, snug and peaceful, high up in the tree, under the stars. Oh, Schmeepy. Snoozing. Little leggy. The next day the lively little rabbit tried to remember his way home, but he could not. So the red squirrel, why am I tried and tried to remember his way home, but he could not. So the red squirrel, to the wise old owl. As soon as it was dark, the owl spread his wings in search of the rabbit's home. In no time at all, the owl had found it, and he swooped down to tell the news to all the brothers and sisters. The little rabbits didn't have to wait long. "Here they come! Here they come!" They all cried at once. And sure enough, there came the owl, flying close to the ground to show the way to the lively rabbit, who was hopping along just as fast as he could go. The red squirrel was hopping along too. He had come for a visit. "Hello, what's the news?" said the lively little rabbit. "Oh dear," cried the rabbit. I'm not even trying to do the voice anymore, apparently. "Oh dear," cried the little rabbits. "The mean old weasel came again this morning and ate our grandmother." "Oh, fucking hell. All right." "Ate our grandmother on Daddy's side for breakfast." This made the lively little rabbit very sad. "Something must be done," he said. "What?" said the other little rabbits. "I think I know," said the wise squirrel, who, wasn't the owl the wise one? I guess he's wise in that one rabbit locating niche. And never again. "We must give that weasel a terrible scare." "Yep, that's proportionate." And he told all the rabbits his plan. It was a wonderful idea. They were going to build a make-believe dragon out of leaves and twigs. They would all crawl inside to make it go, and the lively little rabbit was to pretend to be the head. Early next morning they set to work, and the wise squirrel fixed the lovely little rabbit up to make him look fierce, very fierce indeed. I feel like I should read that again, but I'm not going to. So, oh, look at that. It's very fearsome. Soon the dragon was ready. The squirrel and the rabbits looked at their work with pride. It was so very funny, especially when the owl, who was hidden inside with the rabbits, flapped his wings and shouted, "Ooh! Ooh!" What a wonderful dragon it was. Meanwhile, the old weasel was waking up for the day. He stretched and he yawned and he growled and he said to himself, "Now what about breakfast?" But just as the mean old weasel came up to the top of the hill, up popped the make-believe dragon. It flapped its wings and wiggled its tail and shouted in a very loud voice, "Ooh! Ooh! Ooh!" The weasel was terribly frightened. He was so scared that for a minute he couldn't move at all. Then he turned around and ran. He ran so fast that he would still be running if he had not stumbled on a rock. But he did, and he rolled to the bottom of the hill. There he picked himself up again and began to run away again. All day long, the rabbit... What? That word wasn't even there. All day long, back in the woods, the lively little rabbit danced with his brothers and sisters and their friend, the wise red squirrel. Everyone was happy. Very happy indeed. Meat word good. The sleepy owl asked to be excused, then went to bed. The very next day, the mean old weasel, who was still full of bumps and bruises, moved far away from the woods. Never again has he ever tried to eat a lively little rabbit for breakfast. But there are many other species that he could nibble on. Man, they got a robust medical system for weasels wherever he landed. So you got a splint, you got a crutches. Bet the insurance is through the fucking roof. Normally I would read this list of books here, but I can't because the text is terrible. I'm not going to try. Ooh, 4 puppies. Man, that's 3 more than 1. Bye.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.